Imagine a future where diagnosing a hip fracture is not just quicker, but say 19% more accurate.
Hmm.
Or where a prosthetic socket is perfectly tailored for a patient before they even step into theater, completely eliminating those painful adjustments.
Right.
What if we could predict patient outcomes with, well, unprecedented precision, allowing us to manage resources and care pathways much more effectively?
It sounds almost like science fiction, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. But this isn't just a vision from some medical drama, it's the very near future of orthopedics, and it's powered by artificial intelligence. Today, on the deep dive, we're going to peel back the layers on this transformative shift. My goal is to explore with you how AI is tangibly reshaping musculoskeletal health, and perhaps more importantly, what it truly means for your practice and our patients. And joining me to navigate this fascinating landscape, someone perfectly positioned, I think, at the crossroads of clinical practice and technological innovation, is Professor Mo Imam. He's a consultant trauma and orthopedic surgeon, and his unique insights into integrating cutting-edge technology into daily clinical workflows are exactly what we need for this deep dive. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. This is a topic I feel, well, very passionately about. You can really see the clear intersection of clinical need and technological potential right now.
Absolutely. Our mission today is clear. We want to explore the immense opportunities AI presents in orthopedics, demonstrate its current real-world applications, and critically examine the ethical and practical challenges that need navigating for its responsible and widespread adoption. This conversation is really tailored for you, the medical professional, who's grappling with this evolving landscape of healthcare technology and maybe wondering how AI truly fits into your daily practice.
Professor, when we talk about AI in orthopedics, it genuinely feels like we're standing at the precipice of a golden age. What makes this moment so unique for musculoskeletal health and AI, particularly right here in the UK?
Well, you've hit on the core issue there. It largely comes down to data, and specifically the UK's incredible, almost unparalleled position in collecting it over many years. The orthopedic discipline here has historically been a trailblazer in patient data collection, really setting a global standard.
Let me give you perhaps the most significant example. We have the National Joint Registry, the NJR. It's truly a global exemplar in this space. It's the largest orthopedic registry in the world, boasting around, I think it's about 3.5 million records now. But it's not just the sheer volume.
Right.
It's its meticulous, long-term tracking of specific joint replacement implants and patient outcomes, right back since 2003. That gives AI an unparalleled training ground. This level of detail, this longitudinal view, allows AI to learn from decades of real-world patient journeys. It offers incredibly rich data for building predictive models. But it doesn't stop there, you see.
So there's more beyond the NJR.
Oh, absolutely. This rich data set is complemented by a whole wealth of other interconnected information. Think about the National Hip Fracture Database, critical insights there into fracture management and outcomes. We also draw from the UK Health Security Agency's infection data, which is invaluable for understanding postoperative complications. Then you have extensive GP records, general hospital data. It gives a really broad view of patient journeys and health trends. And increasingly, we're seeing data flow in from advanced medical devices, wearable technology, even robotics. Some of that includes proprietary information held by private companies, which adds another layer. The key insight here, really, is the interconnectedness of these diverse data sets. When you combine this vast digital web of information with the analytical power of AI and machine learning, well, it utterly transforms our ability to link, analyze, and learn from it. And that includes, crucially, digital images, X-rays, scans, which are just a cornerstone of orthopedic diagnosis and planning.
Right.
So that its unprecedented availability of comprehensive, high-quality linked data is what truly underpins this golden age narrative for AI in our field.
So we have this incredible abundance of data, a real treasure trove. But this golden age, as you say, also seems to coincide with a period of really escalating demand and, frankly, immense pressure on musculoskeletal health services across the NHS. Can you elaborate on the sheer scale of that challenge and why AI feels like such a timely solution, perhaps even a necessary one?
You're absolutely right. The technological advancement is happening against a backdrop of significant systemic challenges. And AI is uniquely positioned to address some of these. Musculoskeletal health is actually the third largest area of expenditure for the NHS. Just to give you some context, the hospital costs associated with hip fractures alone are estimated at a staggering 1.1 billion per year in the UK.
1.1 billion, just for hip fractures.
Just for hip fractures. It's a massive burden on this system. And the human impact is equally profound. Over 20 million people in the UK, that's roughly a third of our population, live with an MSK condition.
A third. Wow.
These conditions account for, well, 1 in 7 GP consultations and about 7.3% of all hospital admissions in England. And when you look at the workplace impact, MSK conditions were responsible for 15% of all working days lost back in 2020. So this isn't just about discomfort. It has a significant economic and societal impact too. And the pandemic has, unfortunately, just exacerbated these issues dramatically. We've seen waiting lists for all hospital procedures balloon, and orthopedics bears a really disproportionate burden there. At the end of 2021, over 700,000 people were waiting for trauma and orthopedic surgery, hip and knee replacements included. That's the largest total in over a decade.
700,000?
And even more concerning, over 60,000 people have been waiting for more than a year for their T&O surgery. Now, compare that to just 436 people waiting that long back in January 2020, pre-pandemic.
That's an incredible jump.
It is. And this doesn't even account for the, the hidden backlog, those patients who need care but haven't yet entered the system because of the pandemic's lingering effects. So when you bring this immense demand together with our unique data abundance, well, AI isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's becoming an essential tool to manage an overwhelmed system and, hopefully, deliver better care.
So in this context of immense demand and this unique data abundance, it does seem inevitable that there's a shift towards data-driven science. How do experts in the field view this, well, the seemingly inevitable evolution? Is it seen as a natural progression or something more disruptive?
I think it's seen as both, really. There's some really compelling voices on this, highlighting how orthopedics is actually at the forefront, perhaps surprisingly to some. Professor Xavier Griffin, he's chair of bone and joint health at Queen Mary University of London, puts it quite succinctly. He says, "It's an exciting time in healthcare. Orthopedics is good at this because we've been doing it for a long time. Whenever I talk to anyone about big data sets and clinical research, orthopedics is always at the vanguard."
So we have a head start, effectively?
We really do. He highlights how much of a head start we have in this area, almost uniquely positioned to leverage big data because of things like the NJR. Then you have Dominique Rothenfleu, a consultant orthopedic surgeon at Oxford University Hospitals. He offers a more provocative view, perhaps. He believes it's, and I quote, "essential that we upgrade diagnosis and surgical indications from an art to a digital, data-driven science."
From an art to a science.
Precisely. And he goes on to say something quite striking. Machines may not necessarily replace physicians, but physicians making use of AI will at some point replace those not using it.
That's a strong statement.
It is. It's not about AI replacing human expertise wholesale. It's about augmenting it to such a degree that those who don't embrace AI become, well, potentially less effective or competitive. It really speaks to this idea of consistently upgrading our diagnostic and surgical indications, moving from relying solely on individual judgment, perhaps influenced by recent cases, towards leveraging comprehensive digital insights. It's a clear call for evolution in our practice.
That's a really powerful statement from Dominique Rothenfleu, and it brings to mind, for me at least, the Getting It Right First Time program, GIRFT, led by Professor Tim Briggs.
Yes.
It feels like GRFT was almost a precursor to this data-driven revolution, a sort of proof of concept for what's possible with large-scale data analysis. Would you agree with that?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Spot on. GRFT has already demonstrated the immense power of systematic data sharing in orthopedics. The program's core strength lies in its ability to highlight areas of excellence and, crucially, also underperformance across the system. By doing that, it encourages and enables evidence-based improvement in patient safety, outcomes, efficiency, and cost-effectiveness. It's shown what happens when you proactively use real-world data to drive change.
And the results were quite significant, weren't they?
Oh, definitely. The results speak for themselves. A review of the program back in 2020 showcased substantial improvements against its key metrics. We've seen a consistent reduction in revision rates year on year since 2012, even as total surgical activity and demand continue to grow. Average lengths of hospital stay have been reduced by about a fifth. Now, that released over 368,000 bed days, a huge gain in efficiency for the NHS.
Incredible.
And over 5 years, GIRFT delivered recurrent financial savings to the NHS of $696 million. Nearly $700 million.
Wow.
And this was achieved through a whole range of measures. Smarter planning, better service design, focus on proven interventions, and implant choice, reducing infection rates, improving training, enhancing physiotherapy, smarter procurement. The list goes on.
So GIRFT really paved the way.
Exactly. When you look at those achievements, it's clear that GRFT laid the groundwork. AI represents the next logical and, I think, profound step. It's about building on those successes to deliver even better patient outcomes, and doing so with greater efficiency and at an even larger scale. It's about taking the power of data that GRFT already leveraged and, well, supercharging it with AI's analytical capabilities, taking a data-informed approach to the next level, really.
That's a fantastic foundation. So if we're in this golden age of data, facing this escalating demand, where are we already seeing AI delivering concrete, tangible benefits? Where is it beginning to truly make a difference in orthopedic practice today?
We're seeing significant advancements across the board, fundamentally delivering better patient outcomes and enhancing the effectiveness of our clinical teams. Let's get concrete. A prime example is up at Northumbria Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust. Professor Mike Reed and Dr. Justin Green's team there are using AI to develop quite sophisticated post-operative risk profiles for hip and knee operations.
Okay, risk profiles.
Yes. Their system can predict with remarkable accuracy whether patients are more or less likely to experience complications post-op, and is proven to be 4 times more accurate than standard clinical practice at identifying those high-risk patients.
Yeah, 4 times more accurate. That's significant.
It's very significant. And this isn't just an academic exercise. The practical benefit is immense. It enables clinicians to allocate patients to the most appropriate facilities. High-risk patients can be directed to high-intensity units, perhaps with specialist 24-hour cover, cardiology teams, organ support if needed. Conversely, low-risk patients who are likely to have less complex needs can be safely allocated to more local facilities and discharged faster, more cost-effectively.
So it's optimizing resources and improving patient flow based on real risk.
Exactly. Better patient care, but significant efficiency gains too.
That's incredible, predicting complications with that level of accuracy. Does this kind of predictive power also extend to emergency situations, perhaps even mass casualties, where rapid, accurate decisions are absolutely critical?
It absolutely does, and it's an area of really crucial research. Consider the fascinating work of Becca Stoner. She's a PhD student at Queen Mary University of London. Her research, which is co-funded by Orthopaedic Research UK and the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, focuses on using statistical modeling to better predict trauma patient outcomes.
In mass casualty scenarios.
Yes. In a mass casualty incident where you might have multiple patients requiring urgent treatment simultaneously, the order in which you treat them is critical for saving lives. Existing scoring systems for predicting mortality tend to be quite simplistic, often just a snapshot in time. Becca's work harnesses the power of AI to analyze real-time patient data, things like how their heart rate is changing over time or what's happening dynamically to their blood pressure. This allows for far better, more informed decisions about the treatment order.
So moving beyond static scores to dynamic analysis.
Precisely. It moves beyond simple static scoring to a dynamic, data-driven approach that could significantly improve outcomes in those incredibly challenging critical scenarios. And beyond immediate risk assessment, machine learning is also proving invaluable in predicting hip replacement failure.
How does that work?
Well, the technology can spot very subtle changes in the bone and joint interface on imaging, changes that are simply undetectable by the human eye, even by experienced clinicians. These predictive models have demonstrated superior accuracy in identifying problems early, perhaps before they become symptomatic. This capability has the potential to save, well, potentially tens of millions of pounds for the NHS.
How so?
By reducing the need for unnecessary routine screening of hip replacement joints that are actually highly unlikely to fail in the near future. It allows us to be more proactive and precise with follow-up rather than reactive and broad. Focus resources where they're needed.
Right, targeted surveillance.
Exactly. And this leads us back to addressing that critical point highlighted by Dominique Rosenflue, the inherent arbitrariness that can sometimes creep into clinical decision-making. He candidly noted, didn't he, that as clinicians, we're not so good in assessing and predicting risks and also predicting outcome. Our decisions, while based on experience, can be heavily influenced by our most recent cases, maybe a recent complication, or even just how we're feeling on a particular day.
It's human nature, I suppose.
It is. But AI, by providing consistent, data-driven insights derived from vast data sets, offers a powerful tool to overcome these inherent human biases and inconsistencies. It can lead to more objective and reliable clinical choices. It's about bringing consistency to what can sometimes feel like a very nuanced art form.
That's a truly sobering thought about the potential for arbitrary decision-making and how AI might help mitigate that. So moving from analysis and forecasting, how is AI specifically transforming our ability to diagnose conditions and analyze images? That's so fundamental to orthopedics.
Yes, AI is revolutionizing image-based diagnostics and surgical planning, making them both more accurate and much more efficient. Firstly, it significantly improves the accuracy of radiographical image analysis. It can detect subtle anomalies that humans might miss, or perhaps just flag images that need urgent review, helping us prioritize workload. Secondly, it can create highly detailed 3D orthopedic templates directly from scans.
3D templates.
Yes, providing surgeons with an unprecedented, precise view of a patient's unique anatomy. This enables far more accurate implant selection and really detailed pre-surgical planning before you even enter the operating theater.
Okay, let's talk specifics. Hip fractures seem like a prime area.
Absolutely. Consider the pressing issue of hip fracture classification. The team at the University of Bath has made a significant breakthrough here. As we mentioned, there were around 76,000 hip fractures annually in the UK. It cost the NHS an estimated $1–2 billion per year, and the mortality rates are alarmingly high. 8.3% at 30 days, rising to 30% at 1 year.
Those are stark numbers.
They are. And a major challenge is the lack of a single, standardized classification method. Plus, radiology departments are frequently overwhelmed. Think about this. Over 300,000 radiographs in the UK remained unreported for more than 30 days at one point. That causes significant delays in treatment pathways.
300,000, that's shocking.
It is. So the University of Bath team developed machine learning algorithms that could identify and classify hip fractures from X-rays with, get this, 19% greater accuracy and confidence than hospital clinicians.
19% more accurate.
Yes. Professor Richie Gill, who's a co-director of their Center for Therapeutic Innovation, explains the profound impact. He says this AI-enabled process can provide greater accuracy and speed up diagnosis. It can automatically flag suspected fractures for review, regardless of what time or day the patient arrives at the hospital.
So consistency, 24/7.
Exactly. Quicker, more consistent identification of a critical injury. That potentially saves lives and significantly improves patient pathways by getting them to the right treatment faster. I should mention, though, the project did face challenges. It took them almost 18 months just to get access to the X-rays they needed to train their model.
18 months for data access.
Yes, it really underscores the real-world complexities of data access for these kinds of projects. It's a major hurdle we need to address.
That's a huge step forward for hip fracture management despite the data access issues. So AI is enhancing our diagnostic eye, spotting things we can't, and doing it faster. But what about once a diagnosis is made, or even preemptively? How is this technology extending into the physical creation of bespoke medical devices like prosthetic sockets, ensuring a perfect fit before surgery even begins?
This is an area where AI, combined with 3D scanning technology, is making a truly transformative impact on patient comfort and function. Let's look at radii devices. They're a startup, actually, in which Orthopaedic Research UK has taken an equity stake. The problem they're tackling is a major one. For people with limb loss, the prosthetic socket, that crucial interface connecting the residual limb to the prosthetic, is often a primary source of pain and discomfort. It's so challenging to get a comfortable fit that patients often require up to 9 clinical visits before they can even walk comfortably.
9 visits.
9 visits, potentially. Every patient is unique. Their limb shape changes over time. It makes it a time-consuming and often really frustrating process for both the patient and the clinician.
I can imagine.
Radii Devices' solution is ingenious. They use AI and biomechanical modeling, drawing on data from 3D scans of thousands of previous procedures. This helps clinicians design more comfortable and better-fitting prosthetic sockets far more efficiently than traditional methods.
So, learning from past successes and failures.
Precisely. This means potentially fewer painful adjustments, quicker mobilization for patients, allowing them to get back to their lives sooner. Given that there are around 8,000 lower limb prosthetic procedures annually in the UK and demand is growing due to conditions like diabetes, the potential for significant improvements in patient quality of life and healthcare efficiency is enormous. Radii Devices also has ambitious plans to expand this biomechanical modeling to other areas where external medical devices attach to the skin, perhaps orthotics, even fitting respiratory masks. It's a really innovative application of AI that directly impacts patient comfort and functionality.
That's incredible, moving from improved diagnosis and risk prediction right through to personalized physical devices. But what about once the patient is treated, or perhaps for managing chronic conditions? How is AI playing a role in post-treatment care and patient self-management, maybe through wearable technology or apps?
Yes, digital health tools, including wearables and patient apps, are a really key element of the NHS long-term plan, and AI is absolutely central to their effectiveness. Platforms like Get You Better and Good Boost are excellent examples. They utilize AI to provide personalized behavioral change information and therapy sessions precisely tailored to a patient's individual needs and progress.
So it adapts to the patient.
Exactly. The evidence suggests that these self-management platforms lead to fewer GP appointments, reduced physiotherapy referrals, and even less medication prescribing in some cases. And crucially, they also provide clinicians like us with valuable real-time data on patient progress. This enables us to offer more evidence-based, targeted support, often remotely, without needing constant in-person contact. It allows clinicians to focus their precious time on those patients with the most complex needs.
That makes sense, freeing up clinician time.
Precisely. And this aligns perfectly with what the MSK community itself sees as valuable. An OR UK survey found that 91% of the MSK community agreed that passive and continuous monitoring could significantly aid post-treatment recovery. AI is also powering the next generation of virtual assistants. For example, Versus Arthritis has their AVA chatbot, which is built on IBM Watson technology. This chatbot can answer a diverse range of patient queries on self-management topics, anything from exercise routines to medication advice. It empowers patients with immediate, accessible information outside of traditional clinic hours.
Available 24/7.
Right. Ultimately, these applications translate into improved efficiency across the healthcare system. They enable early identification of potential risks or setbacks and ensure that precious resources are allocated to those with the greatest need. For instance, some studies suggest deep learning methods have the potential to reduce the time radiologists spend reviewing certain types of images by as much as 20%, freeing up vital time for more complex cases. The collective impact is about delivering better patient outcomes while making the entire process more streamlined and cost-effective.
We've explored some truly exciting advancements and the immense potential of AI in orthopedics. It's really quite inspiring. However, no transformative technology comes without its complexities, its potential downsides. And with AI, the inherent risks often concern data privacy and ethical considerations. How do we balance this incredible promise with the absolute need to protect sensitive patient information?
You've hit on a crucial point there. It's a real balancing act. While digitization in healthcare opens doors to remarkable advancements, teleconsultations, machine learning capabilities, it simultaneously, inevitably, increases the possibility of patient medical records being accessed by unauthorized individuals. For AI applications, this vulnerability is somewhat amplified because they necessitate the use of much larger volumes of data. That makes robust security measures even more critical.
And the way AI processes data adds risk.
Yes, because when this data, often highly sensitive, is uploaded to cloud servers, or more specifically, graphics processing units, GPUs. Those specialized, powerful computer chips that AI models often require for processing it, introduces additional points where potential data compromise can occur. More points of potential failure, if you like.
Okay.
And the risk isn't just about direct breaches, like hacking. It extends to the very real possibility of re-identification and data triangulation, even from data that has supposedly been de-identified or anonymized.
So anonymization isn't foolproof?
Not always. Imagine a puzzle.
Ah.
Even if you remove some key pieces, if you have enough surrounding pieces, you can still often figure out what the original image was. A stark example of this comes from a 2018 study of the U.S. National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. Researchers found that an algorithm could re-identify a significant proportion of individuals, 85.6% of adults, and nearly 70% of children, just from their physical activity data, despite all the standard protected health information having been supposedly removed.
Just from activity data, that's worrying.
It is. And in fields like dermatology, this problem is particularly acute. Even if you delink metadata, de-identifying photos of patients, especially if they show the face or other easily identifiable body parts like unique tattoos or birthmarks, becomes virtually impossible.
Right.
Furthermore, there's the challenge of what we might call unprotected data information generated by our smart devices, our internet search history, even our shopping patterns online. This seemingly innocuous data can potentially be triangulated with protected health information, creating a surprisingly comprehensive, identifiable profile. This is especially pertinent when we consider AI initiatives backed by major technology giants who already possess vast pools of non-health-related personal data about us. Combining those data sets could be incredibly revealing.
That's a truly concerning aspect, how data we think is private or separate could still be pieced together. What are the broader consequences if a data breach were to occur in an AI-driven healthcare system? It's not just about a technical failure, is it? There are human impacts.
Precisely. The consequences of a data breach in this context can be quite multifaceted and extend far beyond the technical. We can differentiate between two primary types of concerns, broadly speaking. Firstly, there are what we might call consequentialist concerns. These are the measurable, tangible adverse effects. Things like workplace discrimination if an individual's sensitive medical history becomes public knowledge, or perhaps facing inflated health insurance premiums because newly accessible health information flags them as higher risk.
Especially with predictive AI.
Exactly. This is particularly problematic for AI applications that predict future health events. These predictions could have significant clinical, social, and occupational ramifications if they were leaked or misused. Secondly, we have deontological effects. These are more subjective, perhaps unmeasurable impacts, but no less real for the individual affected.
What do you mean by that?
Well, these impacts can manifest even if the personal information isn't actually misused, or even if the patient is never made aware that a breach occurred. These concerns stem from a profound feeling of loss of control that comes with such an invasion of privacy. The mental trauma or distress that the knowledge of a breach could cause is unquantifiable, but undeniably real. It's about the fundamental erosion of trust in the healthcare system, trust in the technology. It's that feeling that one's most sensitive information is no longer truly one's own, and that can severely impact patients' willingness to share data for future medical advancements, which harms everyone in the long run.
Those are profound implications impacting trust at its very core. And it seems that data sharing isn't just an issue within national borders either. What are the challenges when health data, especially for training these large AI models, needs to cross jurisdictions? And how does this affect critical issues like bias in the algorithms themselves?
Yes, cross-jurisdictional data sharing introduces significant complexities, mainly due to differing legal frameworks across countries. For instance, health-related information in the EU is governed by the Comprehensive General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which applies very broadly to all data sharing. In contrast, the U.S. has more health data-specific laws, like the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, IJABAPEA. These differing regulations with different scopes and requirements can inadvertently create loopholes or points of confusion in terms of data sharing regulations that could potentially be exploited, creating real headaches for anyone trying to develop genuinely global AI solutions.
A legal minefield.
It can be. And this presents a critical dilemma because, as we've discussed, deep learning algorithms inherently need diverse data. They need data from multiple continents across geographies with a multicultural background to be truly globally usable and robust, and importantly, fair. However, achieving this broad dataset necessitates solving these intricate legal and regulatory challenges of cross-border data transfer. If we only train AI on data from one population group, say predominantly white Europeans, it might simply not perform well or could even perform harmfully when applied to a different population in Asia or Africa.
Which leads directly to bias, doesn't it?
Exactly. Beyond the legalities, there's the very real and deeply problematic issue of algorithmic bias. AI applications trained predominantly on electronic health records, or EHRs, tend to disproportionately reflect the socioeconomic groups that have consistent access to formal healthcare. This means that socioeconomic minorities and marginalized populations, who may be less represented in formal healthcare systems due perhaps to affordability issues, lack of insurance, or even historical distrust, are also underrepresented in these big health data sets.
So the data itself is biased.
The data itself can reflect existing societal biases. And when AI is trained on such biased data, it can inadvertently learn and even perpetuate those biases. For example, an AI might recommend suboptimal treatment to a marginalized community simply because the network learns that such patients have historically undergone suboptimal treatment according to the EHR data, without truly understanding the underlying socioeconomic reasons why that suboptimal care occurred. A classic illustration of this, outside of healthcare but very relevant, is Amazon's experience some years ago. Their automated recruitment system was found to be biased against women, solely because the historical hiring data it learned from reflected existing gender bias within the company and the tech industry.
So the AI just learned the existing pattern.
Precisely. It highlights that AI is only as unbiased, only as fair as the data it's fed. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say, or in this case, bias in, bias out.
That's a powerful reminder. And beyond these sort of theoretical or systemic risks, we've seen real-world examples of cyber threats impacting healthcare systems quite severely.
Indeed, we have. A really stark example that underscores the vulnerability of even supposedly robust systems was the cyber attack on India's Apex Medical Institute, AIIMS, in late 2022. This incident was incredibly disruptive. The hospital's core services, everything from patient registration and online appointments to diagnostic report generation, billing, even administrative systems like salary dispersal and drug procurement were completely crippled.
Cripple.
Utterly crippled.
Wait.
For over 2 weeks, all these essential services had to be managed manually. You can imagine the chaos, immense queues, huge patient waiting times, delays in care. Even with services eventually resuming and data apparently restored from a backup server, the personal data of potentially over 30 million patients and healthcare workers may have been compromised.
30 million records.
It's a massive potential breach. This isn't a hypothetical risk. It's a very real and severe threat that reminds us constantly of the critical need for absolutely robust cybersecurity in healthcare, especially as we rely more on digital systems.
And finally, just bringing it back to orthopedics specifically, how is this complex picture of promises and pitfalls reflected in the MSK community's own views on AI? Is there a sense of widespread acceptance already, or is there still lingering skepticism that we really need to address head-on?
Our surveys at ORA UK shed some interesting light on this. There's definitely a clear understanding of AI's potential, absolutely. But there's also a healthy degree, I would say, of skepticism that needs addressing. For instance, 86% of the MSK community agreed in our survey that further work is required to counter skepticism among healthcare professionals about AI-informed decision-making. 86%.
That's a high number.
It is. And importantly, 80% felt the same way about patient skepticism.
So professionals are aware that patients might be wary too.
Exactly. This indicates that while the technology itself is exciting, there's a widely recognized need to build trust and to educate both clinicians and patients about its responsible and ethical implementation. It's not a given that AI will be universally embraced without careful navigation of these concerns and clear demonstrations of its benefits, and, crucially, its safeguards. We need to bring people along with us.
So given these significant challenges, from privacy risks and algorithmic bias to infrastructure demands and this understandable skepticism, what frameworks and technologies are being developed to navigate this complex landscape ethically and securely? I understand the European Federation of National Associations of Orthopedics and Traumatology, EFORT, has put forward some foundational ethical guidelines.
That's right. The EFORT guidelines provide a really crucial ethical compass for the integration of AI specifically within orthopedics. They are built upon 4 core principles that should really serve as a guiding star for our field as we adopt these technologies.
Okay, what are those principles?
First, and perhaps paramount, is respect for autonomy. This principle states very clearly that informed consent from patients is an absolute prerequisite for any AI use in clinical care, especially if AI is replacing or reinforcing tasks a patient would reasonably expect a clinician to perform themselves. Patients must be fully informed, they must be involved in decisions, and they must explicitly accept the use of AI. Their privacy must be respected at all times, their data must be accessible and understandable to them, and they have the fundamental right to have their data deleted and to opt out at any time.
Complete patient control.
Essentially, yes. And professionals must never mislead patients about how their data is being used. They must ensure confidentiality, always adhering to promises of privacy, unless legally compelled otherwise. Critically, the guidelines also explicitly state that any incentives for surgeons that might cause conflicts of interest related to AI use must be strictly avoided. It's all about putting the patient first, ensuring their understanding, and maintaining their control over their data and care.
Okay, that's autonomy. What's next?
Second is non-maleficence, which centers squarely on safety. First, do no harm. New AI systems must only be made available to those clinicians who are properly instructed in their use, and crucially, only after their safety and efficacy have been rigorously proven through proper evaluation. This requires robust hospital ethical committee approval and appropriate clinical trials before widespread adoption. The guidelines place a clear responsibility on the clinician, stating that they, rather than the AI designers and technicians, must take control of the AI implementation in clinical practice.
So the clinician remains in charge.
Absolutely. If problems arise with an AI system, its use must be suspended immediately and investigated thoroughly. And it's not a one-time approval process. AI systems in clinical use require continual maintenance, reevaluation, and improvement to ensure ongoing safety and effectiveness over time.
Right, ongoing vigilance. The third principle.
The third principle is beneficence. This means that AI applications must serve a genuine, medically sensible purpose and actively, positively influence the well-being of the patients. Any applications that prove ineffective or medically useless should be abolished. They shouldn't just linger because the technology exists. The targeted standard of care for any AI application should be explicitly mentioned up front and transparently defined according to the present state of the art in medicine. Furthermore, while AI offers great potential for efficiency, the guidelines stress that personal contact with patients, that human connection should not be eclipsed by AI without solid evidence of clear patient benefit. Empathy remains paramount.
That human touch is vital. And the final principle.
Finally, there's justice. This principle calls for the active participation of all parties. Clinicians, patients, researchers, policymakers, and AI use and research right from the start. Investment allocation for surgical AI research funding should involve surgeons and patient representatives from the very beginning, with vigilant reevaluation to ensure continued safety and patient benefit. Constructive and healthy interchange between surgeons, AI researchers, and policymakers must be fostered. Cost-effective AI technologies, once proven safe and effective, should be accessible to all patients in need, with fair and transparent prioritization of target groups if necessary. And crucially, algorithms must be designed and used in a way that does not permit considerations of age, disease or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between duty and patient.
A strong commitment to equity.
Absolutely. It's a powerful commitment to equity and non-discrimination in AI implementation, ensuring its benefits reach everyone fairly and are not biased against any group.
Those EFRT guidelines provide a very comprehensive ethical framework, truly patient-centric. Beyond those guiding principles, what are the key regulatory frameworks that actually govern health data privacy at a broader national or international level? These impact how we can even begin to use AI with patient data, don't they?
Yes, globally, several major regulations are attempting to keep pace with these rapid technological advancements. The EU's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, which came into effect in 2018, is probably the most influential global standard currently. It promotes user privacy in digital systems very broadly, and its influence extends even to nations outside the EU. In the U.S., the key legislation is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, ESIPA, which was actually enacted way back in 1996 but has been updated since. EIPA sets national standards for handling sensitive patient health information. Its core components are the privacy rule, the security rule, and the breach notification rule, all designed to prevent disclosure of protected health information without patient consent.
And other countries have their own versions.
That's right. Other nations also have their specific regulations, such as Canada's PIPEDA, Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, and the UK's own Data Protection Act, which largely incorporates GDPR principles post-Brexit. These similarly impose strict requirements on the use of AI with healthcare data. And more recently, in India, the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill 2023 was passed just last year. It mandates informed consent and robust security measures, obligating data fiduciaries, those who handle the data, to maintain data accuracy, keep it secure, and delete it once its purpose is met. Interestingly, it even allows for data transfer outside India, except to certain specific countries notified by the government.
So there's a global patchwork, but with common themes.
Exactly. What's consistent across all these frameworks is the fundamental emphasis on protecting patient information and ensuring patient control. This necessitates continuous education and training for both healthcare professionals and the AI developers themselves on these evolving regulations. Everyone involved needs to understand their responsibilities in safeguarding sensitive data. It's a constantly moving target, so staying informed is absolutely vital.
So we have the ethical principles from EFORT and these overarching regulatory frameworks. But how are we technically addressing these profound privacy concerns? What are the big ideas, the technologies being developed to safeguard patient data while still enabling powerful AI development? Given that AI thrives on vast amounts of data, this seems like a major technical challenge.
It absolutely is a major challenge, but this is where truly innovative technical solutions are starting to come into play. They're attempting to bridge that gap between the need for powerful AI and the stringent requirements for privacy. Think of it like this. One of the most prominent approaches right now is federated learning, or FL. Its core principle is actually quite groundbreaking. Instead of centralizing all the sensitive patient data in one massive database, the AI model itself travels to where the data resides, say, different hospitals or research institutions.
The model travels, not the data.
Precisely. The model learns locally on that specific dataset within the institution's secure environment.
Then, only the model updates, essentially. Mathematical summaries of what the model has learned, not the raw data itself, are shared and aggregated on a central server to create an improved global model. It's a bit like sending the AI to medical school at different universities around the world. Only the lessons learned, the updated knowledge are shared centrally, not the confidential student files from each university.
That's a helpful analogy.
It means the raw, sensitive patient data never leaves the local device or the secure site where it originated. This significantly enhances privacy. It allows for collaborative training across different organizations, even across different countries, without ever needing to share the raw patient data. This can lead to much higher quality, more robust models because you're leveraging much larger and more diverse data sets than any single institution could typically access on its own.
Okay. Federated learning sounds very promising. What else?
Another crucial approach is differential privacy, or DP. This is more of a mathematical technique. It works by adding a carefully calculated amount of randomness or noise, either to the raw data before training, less common with sensitive data, or, more often in FL, to the model updates themselves before they're shared. This added noise is designed specifically to conceal the contribution of any single individual within the dataset, making it significantly harder, mathematically speaking, to re-identify any specific person or infer their private information from the model's output.
Adding noise for privacy. Does that affect accuracy?
That's the trade-off. DP is a powerful tool for privacy, but it does involve a delicate balance. While it enhances privacy, adding too much noise can, by its very nature, affect the overall accuracy and utility of the final AI model. So researchers are constantly working on finding that optimal balance, achieving strong privacy guarantees with minimal impact on model performance.
Makes sense. Are there other techniques?
Yes, then we have a suite of cryptographic techniques. These are methods borrowed from cryptography to protect data during computation. Homomorphic encryption, or HE, is a fascinating one, although computationally intensive. It allows mathematical computations like training parts of an AI model to be performed directly on encrypted data without ever needing to decrypt it first. The data maintains its encrypted form throughout the processing, and only the original data owner who holds the decryption key can decrypt the final result.
Compute on encrypted data. Wow.
It offers incredibly strong privacy guarantees, but the downside is that it can significantly increase the computational time and complexity required, making it challenging for very large models or real-time applications currently. Another cryptographic technique is secure multi-party computation, or SMPC. This enables multiple parties, say, several hospitals, to jointly compute a function using their private data, with each party's input remaining hidden from the others throughout the process. It's often based on a concept called secret sharing, where parts of a secret input are cleverly distributed among different parties, so no single party ever sees the complete raw data from others. This allows collaborative analysis, like calculating statistics across hospital data sets without any hospital having to directly share its sensitive patient information with the others.
So different ways to compute without sharing raw data.
Exactly. And finally, in practice, we often see hybrid privacy-preserving techniques. These approaches don't rely on just one method. They strategically combine elements of federated learning, differential privacy, and various cryptographic methods like HE or SMPC to ensure the most robust data security possible. It's rare for one single solution to be a silver bullet in complex healthcare environments. So combining these techniques, layering them, often yields the best results, providing robust, multi-layered security suitable for the highly sensitive nature of health data.
That's a comprehensive overview of these technical safeguards. It certainly sounds incredibly promising, particularly federated learning, given its ability to learn from distributed data without centralizing it. But as always, what are the current limitations and challenges of federated learning in practice? It's not a magic bullet, is it? There must be drawbacks.
You're absolutely right. No solution is a magic bullet, and it's vital we understand the inherent drawbacks and practical hurdles of federated learning. Recent reviews, including one titled Unveiling the Hype, have really highlighted these critical points. Firstly, despite its design, there are still persistent privacy risks. While the raw data never leaves the local site, the model updates that are exchanged during the training process can still potentially reveal sensitive health information under certain conditions.
Even the updates can leak information.
Yes, this is critical to understand. FL models remain susceptible to sophisticated attacks. For example, reconstruction attacks, where an adversary with access to the model updates tries to infer parts of the original training datasets, or membership inference attacks, which aim to determine if a specific individual's record was included in the training dataset used at one of the sites. This means FL, on its own, doesn't inherently protect privacy completely. It almost always requires those additional privacy-enhancing methods we just discussed, like differential privacy or perhaps homomorphic encryption applied to the updates to truly secure the information being shared. So FL provides a foundation for privacy, but it needs reinforcement, those extra layers of security.
Okay, so privacy isn't guaranteed just by using FL. What else?
Secondly, there's the direct impact on model accuracy. The very noise that's added by privacy-enhancing techniques like differential privacy, while crucial for protecting privacy, can inevitably affect model accuracy, as we touched upon. This creates a practical trade-off that researchers and clinicians must carefully manage. Achieving stronger privacy guarantees often means accepting a slight reduction in the model's predictive performance. Finding that optimal sweet spot, balancing privacy needs with the required level of accuracy for a specific clinical task, is a key ongoing challenge.
A difficult balance to strike.
It can be. Then there are data quality and cleaning challenges. In a traditional centralized machine learning setup, data scientists can directly access and clean the entire dataset, handle missing values, correct errors, standardized formats. In an FL framework, because the data stays local, there's an inability to directly check and clean the data held at each participating site centrally. Data quality is an absolutely key determinant of any ML model's performance. So inconsistencies or inaccuracies in the local data sets at different sites can unfortunately compromise the quality and reliability of the final global model. Ensuring consistent data quality across all participants without direct access is a significant logistical hurdle.
Right, you can't see the raw data to fix it.
Exactly. Then there are explainability and transparency issues. AI models, particularly complex deep learning ones like artificial neural networks, are often described as black boxes. They can make predictions, but it's hard to understand why they made a particular decision. FL models can exacerbate this challenge. They can be even more challenging to explain because the final model is an aggregate of learning from multiple scattered data sets, none of which the central coordinator or end user can directly inspect. This lack of transparency poses significant accountability, ethical, and legal concerns because clinicians and patients really need to understand, or at least trust, the reasoning behind an AI's recommendation before acting on it.
That black box problem is a major concern.
It really is.
Yeah.
We also face infrastructure and computational requirements. Local participating sites, like hospitals or clinics, need to have the necessary infrastructure and computational capabilities, sufficient computing power, storage, and reliable network connectivity to actually perform the local model training and share the updates efficiently. Furthermore, in a typical centralized FL architecture where there's a main server coordinating things, that central server does not have control over individual nodes. Participating sites might go offline unexpectedly, perhaps due to technical issues or network problems, which can disrupt the overall training process and potentially slow down convergence to a good model.
So participation requires resources and reliability.
Yes. And lastly, and perhaps one of the biggest practical hurdles currently, is the lack of clear incentives and looming intellectual property concerns. Institutions, especially large, self-sufficient sites with large amounts of diverse data, may feel little incentive to participate in a federation if they don't see clear reciprocal benefits for themselves. Why share their valuable data-derived insights if they don't gain something significant in return?
The what's in it for me question.
Yeah, exactly. And a major unresolved issue is the almost complete absence of clear guidelines on inventorship contribution or intellectual property, IP rights distribution, between all the participating sites in an FL network. Technology transfer, the sharing of model improvements, is an inevitable part of this collaborative process. But IP is crucial for incentivizing participation and for determining ownership of the resulting AI model, which might have commercial value. Who owns the final aggregated model? How are contributions valued? These are complex questions.
Very tricky legal and commercial ground.
Extremely. It really means that for successful, large-scale FL networks to truly thrive, a lead regulatory body or perhaps consortia agreements are critically needed to establish clear guidelines. We need standardized protocols for data handling, security, and crucially, we need to address these complex IP issues early on in any collaboration. Without clear benefits and established IP frameworks, getting widespread enthusiastic buy-in, especially from commercial entities or well-resourced academic centers, is going to remain incredibly difficult.
Those limitations certainly tempered the initial enthusiasm around federated learning, but as you say, understanding them is the first crucial step toward overcoming them. So, what is the path forward for federated learning? What are the key research and development needs to address these barriers and truly shape the future of AI in orthopedics using this approach?
to move FL from being a promising concept, often demonstrated in research papers, to widespread, reliable clinical adoption. Several critical areas of research and development really need intense focus. We need to, firstly, develop more robust privacy mechanisms. This means going beyond basic FL and differential privacy. We need to rigorously explore and refine combinations, perhaps integrating FL with more advanced forms of differential privacy, homomorphic encryption for update security, maybe even leveraging blockchain technology for transparent and secure auditing of model update transfers. Now, the existing methods are good starting points, but they need to be significantly fortified to meet the demands of highly sensitive health data in real-world adversarial environments.
Stronger privacy layers.
Exactly. Secondly, we need research solutions for the data quality issues. This is paramount. This might involve developing sophisticated data normalization techniques that can be applied locally before training begins, or perhaps designing FL algorithms that are inherently more robust to variations and heterogeneity in the data across different sites. We need ways to ensure the garbage in, garbage out problem doesn't derail collaborative efforts. Thirdly, we must focus intensely on methods to improve the explainability of FL models. Addressing that black box problem is crucial for fostering clinician and patient acceptance and trust. This involves research into inherently interpretable model architectures, post hoc explanation techniques adapted for the federated setting, and methods for auditing fairness and bias in the aggregated model.
Making the black box more transparent.
That's the goal. Fourth, we need to address the infrastructure disparities. This might involve developing lightweight FL algorithms suitable for less resource settings, or establishing clear guidelines and potentially funding mechanisms to help participating nodes acquire sufficient hardware and software capabilities. We also need more robust communication protocols that can handle intermittent connectivity from participating sites. Fifth, and absolutely critical as we discussed, we need to create fair incentive mechanisms and clearly define intellectual property rights. This is essential to encourage high-quality data sharing and broader participation, especially from those institutions with rich data sets. Without clear guidelines on who benefits, who contributes what, and who owns the resulting IP, collaboration at scale will always be limited. This will likely involve multi-stakeholder discussions and perhaps leadership from regulatory bodies or professional societies to help establish these frameworks.
Sorting out the rules of the game.
Precisely. We also need rigorous health economic analyses. We need to clearly demonstrate the value proposition of FB, showing that the benefits in terms of improved models, better outcomes or efficiency gains, outweigh the costs and complexities of setting up and maintaining these federated networks. This evidence is crucial for gaining acceptance from governance bodies and policymakers. Encouraging the development of machine learning as a service and MapLo's platforms tailored for healthcare could also be beneficial. This would enable less resourceful institutions to access powerful, pre-trained inference systems, perhaps developed via FL, without needing the capacity to train their own complex models from scratch.
Access for all, essentially.
That's the idea. We should also be integrating state-of-the-art deep learning architectures beyond the standard convolutional neural networks often used in imaging. Exploring newer architectures, like transformer variants, which have revolutionized natural language processing, could push the performance boundaries for FL in medical applications. And finally, there needs to be an emphasis on comprehensive evaluation. This means testing FL models not just on isolated datasets, but on diverse benchmark medical datasets, like the MedMist collection, for example, to ensure generalizability. And increasingly, developing multimodal models that can integrate various data sources, imaging, clinical notes, genomic data, wearable sensor data within an FL framework will be key for achieving a more holistic understanding of patient health.
That's a clear and comprehensive roadmap for the technical and practical progression of federated learning. But stepping back for a moment, beyond the specifics of FL, there's that broader challenge you highlighted earlier. Orthopedics often seems to be somewhat overlooked in the wider AI and healthcare debate. Why do you think that is, and why should it change? Why should orthopedics be more central to this conversation?
It's a significant barrier, and frankly, quite frustrating at times. Orthopedics often gets, well, a bit of a raw deal in the broader discussion around AI in healthcare. You look at landmark reports on AI strategy within the NHS, for instance, and they frequently don't even mention its application or potential in our field. Investment, both public and private, tends to gravitate towards perhaps more headline-grabbing areas like cancer research or novel drug development areas, which are, of course, undeniably important.
So orthopedics flies under the radar?
It seems to. However, I would argue quite strongly that AI's extraordinary ability to solve routine problems at scale is uniquely suited to the challenges we face in orthopedics. Our field involves a very large number of common, often high-volume, routine problems. Think about triaging referrals from primary care, streamlining diagnostic pathways, categorizing patients by surgical risk, or predicting their rehab potential. These all involve complex decision-making processes that are often repetitive and can be significantly streamlined, accelerated, and delivered with higher accuracy and consistency through well-designed AI tools. The beauty here, I think, is that in orthopedics, because we deal with such large patient populations with common conditions like arthritis or fractures, even small gains in the treatment of one condition can lead to improved outcomes for some of the largest patient populations in medicine.
High volume, high impact.
Exactly. Orthopedics is also a highly technical field. We're used to adopting new technologies. There's constant innovation in implants and techniques, and we often have quite clear pathways for common diseases. This makes it incredibly fertile ground for technological advancements like AI. AI isn't just about the headline breakthroughs for rare diseases. It's about fundamentally transforming the efficiency and quality of day-to-day care for millions of patients with musculoskeletal conditions. It offers a truly compelling return on investment, both financially and in terms of patient quality of life, and it deserves a much more prominent place in the national AI strategy.
That's a very compelling argument for elevating orthopedics in this crucial discussion. So, how are organizations like Orthopedic Research UK stepping up to tackle these multifaceted challenges, the technical hurdles, the skepticism, the funding gaps, and actively drive AI adoption specifically within MSK Health? What are their strategic priorities?
Or UK is strategically focusing its efforts on 4 key pillars to really mobilize the entire MSK community and unlock AI's full benefits for patients. It's about tackling the problem from multiple angles.
Okay, what's the first pillar?
The first pillar is education. We've identified a really significant knowledge gap across the profession. Our survey found that 75% of MSK professionals feel they lack the knowledge to apply AI and big data to their work effectively. And perhaps even more strikingly, only 42% claim to have even a good understanding of these concepts.
That's a major gap.
It is. So to counter this, OR UK is actively developing structured training programs. These will blend online and face-to-face learning opportunities, and they'll be meticulously tailored to the specific needs and interests identified by MSK professionals themselves in our surveys. These interests cover a broad range. Understanding how AI supports clinical and research work, getting to grips with modern machine learning techniques, practical applications in image analysis, patient monitoring, developing medical devices, data analysis methods, understanding the safety and ethics of AI, the role of robotics, statistical modeling, and crucially, information governance.
Covering all the bases.
We're trying to. We also strongly stress the importance of integrating genuine data scientists into healthcare teams. Clinicians, no matter how tech-savvy they become, simply cannot replicate the deep, specialized expertise of a trained data scientist. It's about building a truly multidisciplinary workforce that's ready for this future, where clinicians and data scientists collaborate effectively.
Makes sense. What's the second pillar?
Our second pillar is research investment. Our survey indicated a clear perception of a lack of investment in this specific area, with 71% of the MSK community agreeing on this point. So OR UK aims to actively co-fund research fellowships, working in partnership with leading academic institutions and technology providers. The goal is to support top talent researchers and clinicians who are specifically exploring the application of AI in MSK Health. The focus will be on funding innovative projects that address clear, unmet patient needs. Projects that aim to reduce MSK pain, improve patient function and mobility, decrease healthcare costs through efficiency gains, and ultimately enhance quality of life, all through the development and validation of novel AI and machine learning models. We're also actively encouraging entrepreneurs, particularly MSK clinicians themselves, perhaps through initiatives like the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur Program. Clinicians are uniquely positioned at the coalface. They see the problems firsthand and are often best placed to identify potential AI-driven solutions.
Investing in people and ideas, the third pillar.
The third crucial area is data standardization. This is fundamental. While we support broader national initiatives, like those from the NHS Transformation Directorate working on information governance, IG, and data access frameworks, OR UK is specifically championing better data standards for reporting AI-based research within orthopedics.
Why is reporting so important?
because current studies published in journals often lack critical details. They might not clearly state the patient eligibility criteria for the data used, how the ground truth data was established, an example, how diagnoses were confirmed, the distribution of data across different sites or demographics, specific details about the AI model architecture and training process, and importantly, whether the model underwent rigorous external validation on data it hadn't seen before. This lack of transparency and standardization makes it really difficult for clinicians reading the research to assess its quality and determine if the AI tool is truly ready or suitable for real-world clinical use. It creates uncertainty.
So, standardizing how results are presented.
Exactly. We also need to constantly stress the need to counter biases that arise from using narrow data sources, data sets that don't reflect the diverse patient populations we actually treat. Training AI on limited data leads to biased tools. Furthermore, we advocate for greater consistency in how information governance rules are applied across different trusts and how patient consent processes are managed. For example, we've seen instances where overly burdensome requirements for seeking renewed consent for long-running, valuable data sets made important research financially unviable, even though patients had initially provided generic consent for their anonymized data to be used in research. We need pragmatic, consistent IG. And finally, under this pillar, we need to improve training for accurate labeling and tagging of images and other data. This might sound mundane, but it's absolutely fundamental. High-quality labeled data is the fuel for supervised machine learning. Its accuracy underpins AI's core functionality and efficiency. Without good, standardized, well-labeled data, AI simply won't work effectively or fairly.
Data quality and standards are key. And the final pillar.
Finally, our fourth pillar is networking. We see a vital role in facilitating knowledge sharing and creating funding opportunities by bringing together the key players: clinicians, NHS commissioners, academic researchers, industry innovators, and entrepreneurs. It's also about actively highlighting the importance and potential of AI, specifically to orthopedics, to government bodies, and key decision makers. We need to raise the profile of our field in these discussions. It is only by mobilizing the wider MSK community, getting everyone talking, collaborating, sharing best practice, that we can truly unlock AI's full benefits for our patients. To achieve this, we're planning a series of events, things like focused seminars and larger conferences, designed specifically to bring this diverse community together, break down silos, and foster that essential knowledge sharing and collaboration needed to drive progress.
Education, investment, standardization, and networking. A comprehensive strategy. We've certainly covered a vast amount of ground in this deep dive today. We've gone from the really exciting potential of AI to revolutionize almost every aspect of orthopedics, right through to the critical challenges of data privacy, ethics, bias, and the practicalities of implementation. What seems abundantly clear from our conversation is that unlocking AI's full potential in musculoskeletal health isn't something that can happen in isolation. It requires a concerted, truly collaborative effort across the entire MSK community: clinicians, researchers, policymakers, data scientists, industry partners, and importantly, patients themselves, all working hand in hand. This isn't a solo journey. It has to be a collective one. And as AI continues to learn and evolve at this incredible pace, perhaps the critical question for orthopedic professionals like you listening isn't just how we integrate this powerful technology into our workflows, but rather what kind of future we collectively choose to build with it. Will it be one that genuinely prioritizes patient trust, ensures equity of access and benefit, and delivers truly transformative patient-centered care? If you found this deep dive valuable and thought-provoking, please do consider rating and sharing the show with a colleague. It genuinely helps us reach more of the MSK community with these important discussions. My sincere thanks again to Professor Mo Imam for sharing his invaluable insights and expertise with us today.
It's been a truly engaging discussion. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We look forward to delving into another crucial topic in orthopedics with you next time.